Very good morning and welcome everyone on Untitled Penang's Facebook page as well as YouTube channel to our ongoing series Path to Success, the STEM World. As usual, my name is Tim and I'll be your host for this morning. Now for the last month and a half, Untitled Penang has been hosting this Path to Success where we talk with professionals from all over the STEM industries to get a better look at what a STEM career looks like and even learn some new tips and tricks from our special guests. So the main goal of our this series is we hope through these talks that we can help you viewers at home, both young and old, to not only better appreciate the importance of STEM, but also its fun side. Because as we always say, it's never too late to begin exploring the amazing world of STEM. So once again this week, we are joined by a very special guest who will be speaking to us on how she became an engineer. So please join me in welcoming Miss Jacquelyne and Bodeville. So before I bring Jacquelyne on, please let me give you a brief introduction to our guest today. So Jacquelyne is an honors graduate from the School of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Tun Hussein on Malaysia in Johor. So Jacquelyne is also currently a mechanical engineer at Durian Professional Sdn Bhd. That's Durian with an E, all right? So everyone, please join me in welcoming Jacquelyne.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Jacquelyne. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Yes.
Right. So before we continue on with the more serious stuff, maybe you can help us get to know you a little bit better. Can you maybe tell us when do you first started taking an interest in STEM?
Okay. When did I first started getting interest in STEM? So STEM is about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Growing up, we used to play simple toys like Legos, puzzles, bricks, right? I enjoy doing those activities and, creating models and structures. So I enjoy producing it. I enjoyed those activities so much because it comes with, step-by-step series and in manuals. I love sequences. I love processes. So I think most of us grew up in more or less with the same toys, the same kind of toys. So back in primary school, it wasn't really science particularly that actually attracted me to STEM, but it's actually music lesson, because there was once that during a class activity, we were actually asked to make these musical instruments from recyclable items. So I was actually very amazed how just a tissue paper box, and a few rubber bands could actually make up, some sort of like a guitar, a string instrument. And each and every string with different thickness, different sizes would give different sounds. So it was from those sort of activities that, the musical instrument was one of those that I can clearly recall that actually attract me into these STEM. Then in secondary school, of course, we learn more in depth about science, and later on, we were given opportunity through academic to learn about physics, chemistry, and biology, and everything seems to just mesh in and connect. And I figured out a lot of concepts behind models and those activities that I enjoy when I was younger. So I think there is no doubt in the earlier days when I was asked, what I want to be, things will be like doctor, teacher, right? Even policewoman. But later on, when the word technology and engineer came into the picture as we were being introduced to all these different careers and jobs, I see these words, engineering and technology, suits to things like improvement, right? The future, and to create something. So it is then I start to realize, hey, maybe this is something, engineering is something that suits somebody like me, somebody who likes to explore concepts, who appreciate procedures, sequences, and also looking forward towards technology and improvement. That was way back in roughly about in Form 3. So STEM came around, I believe, due to the interest and the investigative nature that I actually have. Yes.
Right. So I find it very interesting that how you came to know STEM not only through Legos but through music. I never thought of it that way before. So you see, as you can, our viewers can see, you draw inspiration from many places. It doesn't have to be from textbooks.
Yeah.
It can be from anywhere. So all right,
Mhm.
very interesting, very interesting. So touching back on school, do you actually have a favorite subject in school? And maybe if you have, why do you pick that particular subject?
Because I've mentioned music earlier, I do love music. But unfortunately, I wasn't that talented. I don't have a good, hand and eye coordination that is good enough for me to perform well in musical sight reading. So musical instruments like guitar and of course like the traditional gamelan itself fascinates me a lot, because things like the factors due to thickness, material tension, the waves and the vibration could actually make up so many different sounds, right? But some of the subjects that I actually enjoy during schools, it would be things related to skills. We do have this subject called KHB, Kemahiran Hidup Bersepadu.
Ah,
That time we learn skills, we learn how to use hand tools. We are also exposed to, how to be an entrepreneur. And then how to put things together, create new things. And then that was before physics was introduced, because KHB has been there since, I believe, actually since primary school. It's just the little skills that we learned. And then later in Form 4 and Form 5, physics came into the picture. I love the subject because it actually explores or, make us understand the basic concepts of how things actually work, the relationship, and how the matter, motion, energy, and force actually comes together. So I cannot deny that physics is actually one of my favorite subjects during my school time. Yes.
right. I see. I see. So, as Jacqueline mentioned, a lot of our daily life, right, is actually controlled by science, by
Yeah.
physics, by biology, by chemistry. Just that we don't
Mhm.
realize only, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct. Yes.
yeah, we can see a lot of STEM in our life, but we just sometimes too blind to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So, still sticking to the subject of maybe your school or university days, do you have any interesting stories that's related to science or STEM?
Science or STEM? Actually, back to the, to my interest of creating things and exploring items, I do love getting involved in projects, you see, projects, either we, make an experiment or we put up a fair, a science fair, a program. Back in university, I was very involved in projects, students program as well, not only to help my batchmate, but also maybe the junior or assist my seniors in university to put up value adding programs. So these are some of the things that I enjoy doing. But when it comes to subjects and things like that, of course, mathematics is very important. It is everywhere because back in those days, we were always talking about the 3M, the membaca, mengira, dan menulis, that sort of thing. So STEM, as what Tim actually highlights, yes, is always there in our daily life. We don't see it. If we don't really go and go in depth to think about how things came about, we don't realize it is there. Even the most simple things like how to keep a room cooler, because Malaysia we have this humid and hot weather, how we can actually go about with it, because this is daily living, you see. So let's not talk about whether we do have air conditioner or not. That is another thing. But how we keep the room cool, maybe we have some some wet towels around. It would actually bring down the temperature and things like that. So every day is a learning process lah. And through all these different experiences, when it comes with the academic theory that I actually I have the opportunity to learn during my primary, my secondary, as well as in university, when we explore more in depth in theory. I actually appreciate each and everything that my mom does, how she do things so that things can be much more easier for us to live daily life. So I think life itself is is a subject to be learned. We learn every day. Yes.
Right. Yes, agree. Totally agree. Yes, we need to constantly be learning, even though we are, in the future, 50, 60 years from now, when we're all very old, there's still a need to learn,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Okay. So I just now you mentioned something very interesting, where you mentioned about how we have these life hacks, right? How to cool our room without air conditioning. So I think we
Yes.
watched the same video, because I recently discovered the same trick as well, the wet towel trick.
Yeah. Because back in university, I mean, I'm staying in colleges, residential colleges. Actually, in Johor, there are two, because I have 2 semesters. You see, one is in September and the other one is in February. The September semester normally is very cooling. That is the period where it always rain. The weather is always nice and comfortable. But after Chinese New Year, or rather, normally people will say Chinese New Year is a very hot season. So when the other semester starts in March, or in end of February, the period between February up to May, normally it will be very, very, very hot in Johor, especially in Batu Pahat. So we cannot really actually try to accommodate to the weather, and we want to keep ourselves comfortable. So
Right.
having to learn this trick from my mom back home when I was staying with her here in KL, I actually feel this hack is so, I appreciate it so much that I actually get a comfortable room and environment for me to rest every night lah. Because the heat, it can be very
Yeah.
it's not, you cannot bear the heat sometimes, and it's very uncomfortable. Moreover, students, you have to study, you have to go through all those information input, and at the end of the day you wanted rest, but because of the weather you couldn't rest well. So yeah, those are things that I appreciate and I learn every day.
Right. Okay. So moving on, I believe this next question, right, is something that our friends at home, especially in those still schooling in secondary school, will be very
Mm-hmm.
interested to know. So is in regards to their academic results. So a lot of people might be wondering, is it important, my results, in order for me to pick a science stream?
Results actually, of course, in Malaysia, our academic system is very assessment based. Of course, there are pros and cons into it, but I'm not going to go into that portion. We always have reasons why they set up the system as such. But do you really need excellent results, in order to pursue a career in STEM? Actually, if you ask, in my opinion, the answer is no. You do not need to have excellent result to successfully or want to pursue a career in STEM. But you do need to master certain subjects. When we talk about science, technology, engineering, and maths, the base of this STEM usually is mathematics. We need to master mathematics, regardless whether we are talking about modern maths or even slightly higher or more challenging is maths, because these are the foundations of all the formulas being derived in the engineering textbooks. In my case, because they apply all these mathematics to build up models, mathematical models to simulate what the concept is, about. So mathematics is definitely one of the subjects that a student should master in order to, to explore the STEM field more freely, and enjoyable. You definitely need mathematics, right? And then if you talk about engineering, technology, and of course science, all these are, yes, as what it says, is actually science. The base is science. So regardless if you enjoy physics, if you enjoy chemistry, or even biology, is actually good, because STEM field is very wide. We are talking about even people, in the biotechnology field, even doctors. Of course, they use biology, but biology is still science. So it's not just engineering, it's not just technologies, it's not just mathematicians or scientists, because STEM field itself, due to these four, what they call these 4 pillars, or categories of the whole model, we have a wide range of career or jobs for somebody who is interested to explore. So even if you want to be a teacher, you can still explore all these subjects, and get to know more about STEM, the 4 items, to pursue your career. It's not just tied to one particular subject, but it's based on your interest. Most probably is your interest. The next thing is more on how all these subjects improve your analytical skills, how you do synthesis, how you do inferencing based on facts, critical thinking, right? So it comes along the way. So when it comes to excellent result, do you actually need straight A's to do, to actually have a good career in STEM? To me, the answer is no. I will give you a big no for that, because everybody, have their own progress, have their own capabilities. It's not always about just academic to be successful in life. There's also the other part of it, things like soft skills. It is actually very important. So to balance all these up, or rather to gel all these things together, it is very important to have interest, the correct attitude to want to know more or in depth on the topic or the subject of interest. This would actually motivate you to go further in a more enjoyable way, than rather than to think of, I must get straight A's for all these subjects, I must score, but good results, or maybe I need to be the top of the class to get into this field. So this is what I feel. And even myself, I've actually witnessed my friends who previously in secondary school didn't do that well. I mean, they are good, as in middle good, and now they are, they're professionals. They're good in their field. They are experts in their subject or their topic. So, to be very honest, school is just somewhere for you to explore, and you need to grab the opportunity given to you, whether it's through fairs, science fairs, or if you're given opportunity to lead a group for discussion, right? And of course, participate in all the activities, and go through the syllabus with your teachers, because each and everything that is in the learning objective do carry certain weight to the end product of what you will be learning. You may not realize it during the time you learn it, maybe only realize it towards 2 3 years or 10 years down the lane, because things like what I've mentioned, musical instruments, who actually know that, that very simple activity that we have, just recyclable tissue paper box and a few rubber bands, would actually bring me here today as a mechanical engineer. So yeah, don't get too stressed on whether you need to have excellent results. Just do your best at your capability, but always have the positive and initiative attitude to learn more, willingness to move forward with what you actually want to learn. That is more important, in my opinion.
So I completely agree with you, Jacquelyne, that during school time is a very critical point for a student to not only decide what they want to do in the future, but to explore what their interest, where their interest lies in. Could be STEM, could be arts, could be other
Yes.
other subjects. So it's very
Yes.
important because I hear a lot of stories of students, right? They always tell me, teacher, I didn't pick STEM because my senior say the exam very hard. Then I sure fail one. That's why I don't pick science stream. So because of this, this fear of
Well,
exams.
yes, but the
Uh,
first thing to just take in what people say and think like, cannot lah, very hard lah, I sure fail one. This is a no. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be in this position, but you should actually allow yourself to explore. I think that is more important. Don't actually listen to what people say, because school is a very safe place for you to explore. So when you are more certain, before you exit secondary school to enter, foundation, or maybe form 6, or maybe the beginning of your tertiary studies, when you are, very certain on what you need to do, it would actually drive you further, because many people, when they step into this, the beginning of the tertiary studies, when they are not clear, the impact of what people say to them would actually impact them harder than those who actually knows roughly what they want to pursue. So if you have a career planning or progression in mind, what you want to be, or what sort of job you want to be in, like for the next 10 years or 10 years to come, it's good that you take the opportunity, you talk to teachers, especially. They will give you their insights, because nowadays teachers are not just from the schools. They are not just teachers who learn the subject, but most of the teachers nowadays do have degrees in engineering, in marketing, in accounting. And because they do have passion in teaching, but not doing, whatever that they have learned solely by itself, they ended up in the school. So approach your teachers. You ask them question. I'm interested in this subject. I want to do things like this and that. Maybe you can get good insights from them. What the what the real world would actually offer, and what are the job scopes that you should look into, or job titles that you should look into, and you explore more, because everything is now on the internet. But if you stumble upon something that you think, hey, this is not so right? Again, you can bring that topic back to your teacher. You talk to them. You also have school counselors. I believe they are all very happy if you were to approach them to talk about things like this. It shows that you are ready to step forward, and they definitely would be very happy to help you sort it out. Yes.
Yeah. So it's important that you don't limit yourself in school based on, things your senior or your friends say. Always
Yeah.
seek advice from the right party, from the right people, your teachers, or
Mhm.
even your parents. All right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, Jacquelyne, while we were talking about, results, you mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned something about how we, procure soft skills while we're studying STEM. So my next question is there any specific skills, technical or soft skills that we need in order to do well in STEM?
Okay. Usually STEM, when we talk about jobs or career in STEM, most of it requires you to collaborate with people. So when you collaborate with people, you need to make sure that you can communicate well, the message gets across, and the message that is being sent to you, you can absorb and you can understand. So effective communication is one of the skills that not only people in STEM, but everybody should have in general. That is the first thing. Second thing is because in STEM we normally do work in a different projects. It normally in STEM it's more project based lah, because we tackle item by item, we solve issues. So when we work in projects, you need to know how to handle tasks. That's the first thing. Second thing is you need to know how to handle people, because all of us, we have different personalities, we come from different backgrounds. We need to know how to position ourselves within them to get the best cooperation, to get the best interest. And of course the end goal, always respect the end goal, is actually to get things done. So effective communication, good task management, and of course, good people management. And not only you manage people, but you manage yourself. It's very important to get things move around when we talk about the involvement or what you need to do in a STEM career. So how can we actually get all these things is like what I briefly mentioned just now, through programs and activities. So in primary school or in a secondary school, the activities that you have outside than classroom activities would be your core curricular activities. We look into clubs and societies, as well as uniform bodies, even your sports sessions. You would actually learn how to adopt to situations, how to bring yourself as a team member, how to be a team leader, how to communicate, where to get resources, who should you approach for certain items, and how to manage all these things to bring your objective or your goal, a success, into a reality. So all these things actually help you to learn how to plan, how to execute, how to make decisions, and how to appreciate organizational structures. Well, these words may be very big, but it's actually something that you have in your daily life, also in your classroom. So I give you the most simple example. Every year we would have Teachers' Day, say Teachers' Day, or maybe you would want to throw a birthday celebration for your classroom teacher, right? Of course, you will need to know, okay, when should we do it? How should we do it, right? Who should we invite? Should we only invite our classmates from our class, or should we invite the entire form? How many teachers should we, put together? And with all these guest lists or attendees, what is the number? How big, the classroom should be, or should we do it in another hall, right? What cake should we buy? What food should we buy? Who can eat this? Who cannot eat that? Who has allergic, this and that? What sort of tea or beverage you want to serve? which will actually tackle the taste of everyone in the attendee list. So you will actually have a group of people doing it. Maybe the class monitor would lead the project, right? And then you have the assistant class monitor to help him look into certain items, confirmation of guest list, etc. And then you will definitely have somebody to arrange the tables, get enough chairs. These are all organizational roles that you will play future during your working life. All this is just something that you do for a simple program in your classroom for that particular year. But it is through things like these, programs like this, events like this, that will bring you more experiences when you handle projects and programs later in university, as well as in your real life job in future. So that's why I said all these things looks very big. We talk about plan, execution, make decision, but it is actually your daily life, how you manage your resources and people. So do help around when you have the opportunity, when your friends approach you for help. Maybe you don't really know how to do it, but your friends know how. Then you ask them how to do. Then they guide you along, right? So school is a very, very interesting place to make things happen. I enjoyed most of my time in school. So those are the skills that you actually need to have as a basic or fundamental skills that you need to have to be able to work along with people in the STEM industry later on. Yeah.
Right. So I believe most of our friends watching at home are still in school. So they may be
Yes.
hearing when you talk about, communication skills, organization skills, they might get worried that
Yeah.
they don't currently possess these skills yet. So we just want to, reassure them that these skills, you slowly pick them up, right? You don't master it
Yes.
in one day.
Yes.
So
Nothing can be mastered in one day. It's
yeah,
always
exactly.
progress. Every day is a progress. So don't worry, even though the word seems very, 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 very big. But in fact, if every day you pick up, you pick up a small grain of sand, at the end of the day, you will really get, a very big mountain of sand, which would form a big structure. And that is like your experience. Every day you learn something new, you pick up something new. And at the end of the day, maybe 5 or 10 years down the lane, you may be the expert on that particular thing because you mastered through your experience.
Right.
Yes.
So it's also important that you put yourself in the position to learn. If you stay in your room the whole day, of course you're not going to learn anything. So you need to put
Yeah.
yourself in a position to learn, right? Even with small
Correct.
things,
Correct.
like help your friends if you're going out. Maybe you plan the day, a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help in
Yeah.
your organizational skills as well, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Actually, as simple as having to organize a badminton session,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually plan, execute, and play. You make decision how many courts you want to have, how many people will be coming. You also learn how to do finances. You see how much the court is charged, how many shuttlecocks you'll be using. All this is daily life. So step by step, everything is possible. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who prefer to, stay in their room, you need to take your first step out of the room first. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So moving on. Right, Jacquelyne, based on your personal experience, was it
Mhm.
easy for you to transition as a student when you graduated to an actual engineer? Is there a big gap?
Well, for me, the gap wasn't that big because I have early exposure to the job that I wanted to do back I mean 4 years back when I graduated. I already know what I want to do, what sort of engineering field that I want to be involved in, because even engineering itself, we do have electrical, electronics, mechanical, chemical. We do have different fields, but even within the field itself, it's very wide, it's very big. So when people hear that, oh, Jacquelyne, you graduate from mechanical school, so are you going to expect yourself to work in a factory? That is what they normally throw, the question to me. So you'll be a factory girl. I said, no, I'm not going to work in a factory because with the degree that I have, I can actually work elsewhere, even in the construction field. I am actually in a construction field, particularly doing engineering consultancy, where my company does the design, or we provide consultancy services for mechanical and electrical building services, meaning what are the systems that you have in the building. Those are things that those are the services that we provide. We help you to size your air conditioning. We help you to, ensure that you have enough electricity to run all the devices or all the equipments that you have in your company. Those are just the simple terms on what I normally do. So having to have the early exposure, especially, through the mandatory internship, all right, or industrial training that has been imposed for all courses that is accredited by the Board of Engineers Malaysia, you need to have this industrial training. So it is through those experiences that I have, the 10 to 12 weeks experience, that I actually explored during my end of my third year before I enter my fourth year. I learned more about the job that I want to do. I actually enrolled or applied for internship in another similar trade company, does the similar things. But of course, when we talk about buildings, they do more on the residential side, where what I'm doing now here involves even bigger facilities like data centers, factories, right? Of course, they also have hotels and things like that. So different buildings, they have different requirements. So back then, it was just residential. And even in those 10 to 12 weeks, I've learned a lot about systems. What systems do you have at home? Like, your cold water, your domestic water coming in. And then how the water is being discharged from, your toilet to the drain and the sewerage. So all these things I pick up during my industrial training and internship. But even before that, I do have part-time jobs. All right. I actually sought for part-time jobs, and I was very lucky that, this company also took me in. Knowing that, I want to pursue engineering and I'm already an engineering student, I learned, although I don't do the job as an engineering intern, I move around in the company to do desk work. Then I learned how to pick up calls, how to make sure documents are in order, what is the expectation of a properly typed document, how to use Microsoft Words better. Yeah. So it is all through experiences that I gained through my part-time jobs. I actually also even went to have a few months working as a accounting clerk. Because back then I was struggling to really decide whether should I go for engineering or should I just settle down with accounting, because both jobs also solve problems. I love solving problems, all right. So, but it deals with a different set of things, you see. Accounting is more on figures and how only figures, ensuring each and everything is in order, number tallies. It doesn't show much room that you can explore and do things differently, because it's really tied down to a very strict process. But in engineering, I think it suits me more because it gives me the flexibility to explore. So it is also due to the opportunity that I grabbed during the time that I waited for my STPM results and my UPU, my local university enrollment result on which university that I was going to be enrolled to. I took the 6 months to actually explore accounting as well. So it was that particular stint that made me realize, hey, accounting, it can be an option, but it's not what I really want, because I don't want to be, to be in a desk job for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and every single month I'll be only facing figures. So that is not what I want. It is very important to know what you want. So was it an easy transition for me? Yes, because through all these experiences and my active co-curricular background, the transitions was very smooth, because I pick up how to manage people, how to manage tasks, through the activities that I organized or I participated in school or university. So if you want to transition into your job smoothly or better, I think it is important for you to get more exposure. It can be something, even if you have to work in a factory, or maybe you work in my industry during your internship, it doesn't mean that you have to, when you graduate, you have to go back into the same field. Because what you have learned through internship or the time that you have with each and every exposure, you get to know that, hey, maybe this is not something that I really want. So I want to exclude this or set this particular role aside and come back to, to look at it later. I try something else next time. So I understand the mandatory industrial training is only 10 to 12 weeks for universities, but I do highly encourage students to take part-time jobs. Yeah, during your semester break, your school holidays. It doesn't need to be exactly engineering. It can be very, very simple jobs. Even if you were to stand at a supermarket being a promoter, you learn how to talk, right? You learn how to entertain people. You learn how to sell products. So if if you look forward to be a salesperson, to sell engineering devices like pumps, right? Or maybe aircon. Aircon also got many types, but you need to know your product. You need to know how to sell your product. So having to take up, you don't look at all these part-time jobs as something that is, low grade, or you don't see it as something valuable. But having to stand there to promote, maybe you're selling Maggie or you're selling coffee. If you can send the message across to to the people who pass by and they took interest and they maybe bought it back with them, then you're actually achieving something for yourself. It's not so much for how much you get standing there per day, but the experience itself that you will carry later will bear fruits in future when you apply it into your job. Yeah. So do not worry. Don't worry too much also about transitioning, because in the working environment, I understand and I learned now that every 5 years, can say every 5 years lah, due to age gap, due to the employees' interest, and of course the changes that we have, whether it's technology changes or cultural changes and expectations from the people, most of the companies would actually need to adapt. It's not just the new engineer or the new graduate going into the company to adapt to their culture, but it also works the other way. You see, so don't worry so much in transitioning or having to adapt to the system that is already there, because at most of the times it happens both ways. If it happens only single way, then maybe you would want to reconsider, is this company or this job what you really want to do and you want to stay in for the next few years. Yeah. So this is something that I think I would just want to bring up, since we're talking about transitioning, right? It always works both ways. Yeah.
Yep.
Correct.
So as you all at home can hear from Jacqueline's personal experience, she had a smooth transition, but this is not always the case. But due to her preparedness, she took part-time jobs. She, serious in her internship, in the industrial training. Because I know a lot of college students, they take their internship for granted. It's like a
Yes.
check-in, check-out job for them. They
Just for
don't
a
really learn
requirement.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't take it as a requirement. Take it as an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to explore. Yes.
Yep, exactly. So with the proper preparedness, you too can have a relatively smooth transition from student to a engineer or whatever field you're working in, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay. So moving on to our next question. I believe this question also will be quite most asked question. So
Mm-hmm.
probably they want to know what are the perks or what are the advantages of studying an engineering course in Malaysia? What made you go, aha, I picked the correct course? Is there anything to do with stability or opportunities or even maybe we can talk about work-life balance or income?
Okay. This is also quite, of course, it's a famous question, but it's also very um, something that is very hard to answer lah, because different people
Right,
they have
right.
different expectations. You see, when it comes to stability, when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to work-life balance. But I want to highlight that when you select an engineering course, whether is it in Malaysia or overseas, make sure the engineering course is accredited by the Board of Engineers of Malaysia. That is very important because when it's accredited course, they will ensure that the program is up to a certain standard set by the governing board, and the syllabus is audited to ensure that what you learn is actually what you need. All right, that is the very first thing. And then, secondly, nowadays, even in whether in public or private universities in Malaysia, their syllabus, and their course structures now, I can say is at par with overseas universities because they are looking forward to produce quality graduates. Okay, quality graduates, because they are the one, universities is the one that is going to certify, you are certified in this particular degree, and you have passed all your exams and things like that. So don't worry whether it's, the university that you enroll has a name or things like that. Would that actually carry weight? No, because nowadays everyone is moving towards one goal, to produce quality graduates. So you don't actually need to compare that much, but of course, at your preference, you evaluate based on what you think is best. That is the second thing. Because in terms of syllabus, if I were to compare the course structures, it's more or less the same because it's accredited by the same board. So what you learn maybe in a private university here locally in Petaling Jaya or Kuala Lumpur is similar to what you learn in University Technology Malaysia. It's similar to what you learn in University Malaysia Pahang. All right. So do not be afraid. As long as it's accredited, you're all good. When it comes to stability opportunities, I believe the universities or the faculties is very much involved in preparing their students for their stability, and to make sure that they are prepared for opportunities. Because even like myself, I am from University Tun Hussein Onn Malaysia. My faculty, the Faculty of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering, they are actually equipped. They equip their students to ensure that they can graduate and become a technopreneurship. Right? They're combining what we learn as an engineer and how we can become an entrepreneur, whether it is through academic courses, or through programs that they set, or also some of the initiative that was actually being introduced by the entrepreneurship center in the university to equip the students with the necessary set skills, to let them know where you can find resources, how you can go about being an entrepreneur. This would actually pair the learning that we have in our engineering courses with the additional set skills that they actually instill in us to enable all graduates, to have a certain stability when they step out from university. And through technopreneurship concept, this would not only allow students to have good opportunities, but for them to create their opportunity themselves. Yes, creating the opportunity for themselves. So in terms of stability and opportunities, because Malaysia is also actively developing and moving forward, you do not need to worry so much on that. Because another thing is, just bear in mind, when you say you're an engineering graduate, it doesn't mean that you have to land in the engineering field, because the skills and things that you have learned, people from other industries also value you very much higher than others. Okay, with the set skills that we learn through engineering syllabus, we can go places as long as the company values your analytic skills, your critical thinking, how you handle things. So from the engineering syllabus, I just give you a best example, banking. A lot of engineering graduates at the end landed on the banking sector. Why? Because of all these things that I've mentioned. Okay, so stability and opportunity, you will eventually have it when you really go through the courses in university. Just that, like what Tim said, do not stay in your room. You need to step out. You need to find opportunity to explore before you step yourself in. You make your step into the real working world. About work-life balance, if you ask me, work-life balance is something that you can control. You definitely can control, because most of us are so passionate, and so excited on what we normally do. We tend to overdo, not because our bosses, it comes in waves sometimes when you're required to get something done because the timeline is near or the timeline is tight, is a requirement of your job. But to stay at your work desk for as long as possible, I don't think that is what everybody wants. And having work-life balance actually depends very much on the nature of the task or your job description, but it is for you to decide what you prioritize in life. Okay, striking a work-life balance is always possible for engineering career in Malaysia. This is something that I can assure you. Like for myself, I enjoy badminton games. So every week I will still have 2 to 3 sessions of badminton game. It doesn't stop me from enjoying my work and my life. All right. So it depends on you, and to what extent you want to work with your passion. It doesn't mean like, if I think I'm very passionate, but I don't work on weekends. Am I still that passionate? Actually, only you can answer. All right. Everything doesn't really show just on the exterior, because a lot of thing value is actually from inside. So if you can finish your work on time, you can get things done correctly, you can go back on time, but you don't need to, drag your work after working hours, and then you miss out on your own personal life. So work-life balance is really something that only you can determine whether you do have it or not, because the measurement or how you measure work-life balance is based on your opinion, not opinion of others. So never let your priorities down. You need to know what are your priorities, whether is it for health, whether is it for relationship with your friends and families, or whether it's just me time, you see, because people need their own time. So if you can figure out what are your priorities, that would actually define your own work-life balance. Work-life balance is never what people think of you. I want to make this very clear, because a lot of people say, every day you work, every day you need to OT overtime. Why every time I ask you out, you cannot go out? But if that person have the passion to drive what they want to do, right, they can always reshuffle their priority from time to time. So work-life balance is something that you can control. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Agree completely. Because there's this saying, they say, if you love your job, you don't have to work a day in your life. So
It's
some
like you
people
marry
just
your
love
job.
to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people might think, wow, this guy is so stressed every day, has to go to work, got no time to rest. But some people do like going to the office. They like working. So yeah, I
Yes,
guess work-life balance is subjective, I guess. It's up to your
very
own
subjective.
interpretation, right?
Yes,
All right.
yes,
So for our next question, so Jacquelyne, so you mentioned
yeah,
earlier that you're a mechanical engineer.
yes.
So could you maybe tell us a bit more on how does a mechanical what is in store for a mechanical engineer? Meaning, so let's say I just graduated, I joined
Mm-hmm.
a company. Maybe I even joined Durian Professionals. So as a
Okay.
graduate engineer, so what
Mm.
are the steps we take? So let's say the first few years I am a junior engineer, next few years I'm a senior engineer. So what are the steps in your own experience?
All right. In my own experience, when we talk about progression in engineering field, or rather, I give you my
Mm,
what I can see lah, in my own opinion is that, for a company like what I'm actually working in, if you come in as a fresh graduate, of course you'll be a junior engineer. Definitely, you'll be a graduate engineer, junior engineer. Then it is through the on the job learning or on the job training where your seniors, you know or your bosses actually bring you around to learn about how to handle projects, how to do design, where to look for the requirements, how to ensure that your design is correctly done, how to get it checked. All these things is a day-to-day learning. So on the job training, for us, on the job training doesn't only end when you are a graduate engineer. It's actually a long process because even my bosses sometimes they admit that they are learning even in their 10th or 15th years of working experience. So it doesn't mean that you only learn when you are, a graduate engineer or junior engineer. Even when you go into a more senior position, or, you are between a principal engineer and you do have your subordinates or junior engineers, you need to learn how to leverage expectations, because you might hear a lot of complaints or uncertainties from your subordinate, but at the same time, you may or may not know how to handle it. Then you need to go and ask, the more senior or the principal engineer, hey, I have these problems, you see. So how can I go about it? So every stage is still a learning platform, regardless of a number of years that you'll be working. For those who are more, I mean, in the senior years, they might have challenges as well, especially during dealing with young engineers like me, because the thinking, the perception is different. Our learning methods are also different. For them, it's a lot based on textbooks, what they learn, what they see, what they experience. But for us and the newer generations, everything is online. If I don't know something, maybe I can just YouTube, and I get my answer. You can just read an article. It's not necessarily just books, but of course the resources must be reliable lah. We are talking about reliable resources.
mm, mm,
So they have to, learn how we actually get all these resources as well. Because their method of learning and our method of learning is different. So they have to learn, or rather accept that, this is what is happening now, and they also have to relearn based on what is the current situation. So for job progression, normally it would be a graduate engineer, and then when you come in after a few years, you will become maybe a project engineer, and then sooner or later, if you get promoted, then you become a senior engineer. The workload is depending on the company and of course the size of the team that you'll be managing. In my company, we do have engineers, senior engineers, and principal engineers, but it works sort of like a hierarchy. So the principal engineers is in charge of all the seniors and the engineers, while the senior engineers have their own teams of engineers. So the higher the level you go, the more things that you need to tackle, the more people that you need to manage. All right. And of course, with substantial experience and in accordance to the requirements set by the Board of Engineers, if you are 3 years of a graduate engineer, you can actually start to, go for this professional assessment to obtain your professional engineer title. All right, that is where you write reports on your experiences, what you have learned. You present all this to the board and go through a series of interview as well as assessment. If you pass, everything is in order. They will certify that you are a certified professional engineer. So, but this is what in my field works. In my job nature, a lot of people, they fear that 3 years of experience, it doesn't mean that I have enough experience to go for such assessment. It depends on you and what are the opportunities given to you. Again, every day is a learning day. So when the engineers, or maybe in my case, my company, they see that you are almost there, they would actually encourage you to go for the assessment. All right, proceed with the assessment. So this shows just a brief landscape on what we do in my engineering field, because we are dealing with designs. So we have to ensure that everything is designed correctly, is according to standard, it is safe to be used, and safe for users. It doesn't cause any harm in future. So job progression varies if your company is in a different business or in a different field, but at the end of the day, if you go with the sequence and everything, you will be an expert of your particular field or services. Like for example, some of my bosses, they are Nexus professional in aircon services, solely air conditioning. So their peers or maybe other people would actually call them up to ask for advices as well. So it is through all those years that they became the expert of their field. So for engineering field, it's more or less like this for the building or construction or consulting industry. Yeah.
Right. So the reason why we ask this question is because I believe some of our friends at home, they are very ambitious. They probably have a goal, right? They say, oh, in 10 years' time, I'm going to be CEO, or I'm going to start my own company after. So I think we should let them know they should learn to manage expectations. Yeah.
Actually, managing expectation is one, but like what I said, if you have 3 years of experience and you think you are already, good enough to get the professional engineer title, you climb up the ladder. So if you said in 10 years time, you want to be a CEO, you want to open your own company, you want to be a CTO, Chief Technical Officer, it's actually possible. It is actually possible. But it depends on how you progress through the years. If you entered the correct company, and they appreciate you so much that they are providing you, great opportunities for you to, as a stepping stone, then everything might just fall according to your plan. So when it comes to times like this, yes, please dream big because you are the one that will actually drive yourself through those years. If you don't have a certain target, then maybe maybe you tend to get backslided. Say never mind lah, can wait. Then can wait. Then after 5 years, 10 years, you're still waiting for something that you plan to achieve within the 5 or the 10 years. So to be very honest, if you find that what you are doing is not something that you like, or is not matching with your values, and your goals, it's actually very normal for people to find for new opportunities. So if the time that you start to question yourself, hey, am I doing what I actually intended to do, right? Or, do I think I still fit in this organization? These thoughts actually is very normal. When it comes to you, please don't think like, I cannot move on already. Should I stay or should I not stay? I think it's best that you talk to people around you. Yeah, get their advices. Then they will let you know what they actually regretted not doing when they have those seniors, especially when they have those doubts. and you will learn from their experiences lah. So talk to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting thing you brought up, right at the end is, how to say, I believe self-assessment, after you feel, you don't feel happy, or you feel that the job you're doing is not what you have in mind, this kind of, self-assessment, seeing whether you should move on or you should, persevere through. So I
Yeah.
believe a lot of people, they lack this critical skill. So sometimes they are stuck in a job that they don't like for many, many
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Okay. So moving on to our next question. Uh, but this question might be, how to say, it might change next year, because STEM, as we mentioned earlier, is ever growing, ever changing. Is always
Mhm.
something new coming up every day. But for
Yeah.
now, maybe in your opinion, what are some of the main challenges faced by STEM practitioners such as yourself today, and how should they prepare themselves to overcome these challenges?
Like what you have mentioned, we do not know what is the STEM tomorrow. We know what is
Yeah.
the STEM now. We know what is the STEM in the past. So because all these changes takes place too fast, right? It will even be faster in time to come. So it is very important to have continuous development, either in your soft skills or those technical skills that you actually require. So I think for myself, I mean I personally need to be more resourceful to know how to find information to keep myself updated with the latest technology landscape, because we need to be prepared for tomorrow, you see. But tomorrow comes so fast and everything changed so much. So it is important that you have a community to support you. And of course, it's either a supportive network or professionals of engineering peers in the engineering sector. You take the opportunity to know them. And of course, from time to time, I believe they will also share what they know or what they just found out about the new technology or what is upcoming. For myself, to journey on my journey in STEM, because I registered with Board of Engineers after I graduate as a graduate engineer. But looking at this, because technology has been revolving and changing from time to time, and to catch up with this, last year I've also registered myself with the Board of Technologies as a graduate technologist. So for me, I make good use of both platforms as a graduate technologist and as a graduate engineer to keep myself, to even chase the change pace that is ongoing when it comes to science, engineering, and technology. So put yourself into the community that suits your need. That is very important, so that you have the enough resources and correct resources to move on with your STEM journey. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the challenges the STEM's professional face is they need to constantly be updating their skill set, right?
Yes.
So I believe
Yes.
this challenge is, in a way, quite fun. You're learning something new every day, right?
Yeah. It will not keep you at a stagnant point. Like every
Mm,
time there's
mm.
something new for you to look forward. So it is always very interesting in I feel like in the STEM in my STEM way. It
Mm,
is
mm,
always very
mm.
interesting. Yes.
Right. Okay. So we come to our last question for today. So, Jacquelyne, for
Yeah.
all our friends at home that are
Mm-hmm.
interested in science, or they are thinking of pursuing an engineering degree in college, do you have any advice to offer to those who are passionate about pursuing a STEM career?
Okay. If you're interested, you may search around for people who is in the STEM industry to learn more about what they do, and on how you can move forward with what you intend to do. Um, Previously, I mentioned teachers because they are the ones who bring us around when we were in schools, right? And then later on, when you go into university, you're still not too late. You have your lecturers because they do have certain experiences with them. Talk to them. All right. Finding a good mentor or a role model also plays a significant role in realizing your dreams. You may stick around for internship opportunities or maybe do part-time jobs during your school holidays or semester break to learn more about, what the working world can offer you and to see how you can fit in the role of a STEM career of your choice. Okay, I just want to touch on one thing, which is the female students out there. Maybe you need to put the gender stigma aside when it comes to pursuing your career in STEM. Because nowadays, more and more female engineers are actually working together side by side with the entire engineering team or their associate related teams. Give you for one example, Dr. Wan Wadato Armani Wan Salim. She's a scientist and the first Malaysian to launch NASA satellite in 2014. She's also from Penang. All right. And our latest elected president of the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, Professor Nolida Buniamin, is also the first woman president in 62 years. And the institution is celebrating their 63rd anniversary tonight. For my case, in Durian Professionals in Berhad, we have about 30% female engineers. That's actually quite huge when people approach and ask, hey, how many female engineers you have? And then we review 30%, they were quite shocked about it. So it's not really about physical strength, now in engineering, but it's about your capabilities. All right. Females tend to be more meticulous, more detailed, more in order. Actually, these are some of the qualities or things that employers look for different engineering job, and it is actually required because sometimes they need to ensure that everything is in order and there is up to a certain standard and quality, right? Or to keep track on a certain information that they actually need to have. So please do not worry if you don't have a place to stand in engineering. You always have a place to stand in the engineering field. In general, everybody should know how you want to position yourself in future. But please do get yourself prepared with the time that you have, because you think that, from 1 until from 5, I got 5 years. And then after that, maybe I go into foundation, or diploma or from 6. But actually the time flies too fast because you have assessment every year. Assessment after assessment, then 1 year go by after another, you don't feel it at all. It even will fly even faster when you're in university. 4 years is just a very, very short period. So after university, if you don't intend to pursue postgraduate studies, you'll be working out there with everyone already. So grab the opportunity that you have in school, right, as your first base, and then maybe university or foundation or from 6 to explore whether is STEM suitable for you or not. Because if you don't have the correct attitude, or rather you don't have the interest in STEM, it will actually pull your progress down and demotivate your progress through the years in engineering school. So that is very important. I guess that would be some of the advices that I can offer here today for those students who thinking of pursuing a STEM career. Yeah. Thank you very much, team.
Jacquelyne, I just want to thank you for bringing up the point that, girls, it's not, rare to find great engineers with, today. It's already 2022. Gender
Yes.
shouldn't be, a limitation for you to choose a science stream,
Mhm. Yeah.
because I believe, and the people around me believe, STEM doesn't discriminate between race, between age, between gender. Everyone is
Correct.
welcome to, to explore STEM. Not necessarily everyone who, pursues STEM ends up as an engineer.
Ah,
The STEM is so wide, you know.
correct. Correct.
So yeah, it's up to you out there to explore which part of STEM that you are, most in line with, right?
Yes. Correct.
So please, for all the ladies or girls out there, please listen to our speaker today, Miss Jacquelyne. All right. So please don't be scared because 20, 30 years ago they say, oh, engineering is a boys' game. It's
Mm.
no longer true today. Right. So please don't limit yourself because you think you're a girl, you shouldn't be an engineer. So we have come to the end of our talk today. So I'd like to thank our speaker, Miss Jacquelyne. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your, life with us and your advice
Yes,
with
thanks
us.
for having me to give me this platform to share my story. Yes.
So once again, we want to thank our speaker for today, as all our audience who have joined us. We hope that you have taken something important back with you today, and we hope to see you in the next episode of Path to Success. So take care and bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.